Today we're going to be talking about how this $324,000 chalet makes just over $84,000 a year on Airbnb. Is there a bear? I always feel like there's a bear walking up on me because like not too long ago, a bear walked up to like where Caleb is standing right now. A bear was right there and I did the worst possible thing and I ran straight for that door. 31! Instead of falling on the ground in the fetal position, but I'm a survivor. So I thought since it's officially been 1 year since owning this little gem, this little cutie, this little croissant that you see up here, we could do a quick tour and maybe a financial breakdown at the end. So there are a few things in the Smoky Mountains that are really nice to have. The three things are gonna be a view, a game room, well actually a theater room, so 4 things, and a hot tub. Of all those things, it's nice to have as many as possible, but I would say that the #1 requirement in the Smoky Mountains is a hot tub. I kind of hate them if I'm being honest, because they are a little bit of a pain to maintenance and they break down all the time and everything. But when people are coming to the Smoky Mountains and it's cold, it's really nice to kick back and hang out in the hot tub. And even when it's hot, you crack open a nice cold beer and you hang out. And while I've always traditionally hated hot tubs, I'm starting to come around. One quick story about hot tubs. It's not just my guests that like them, but actually bears. Like bears are always walking on our property, but they always find themselves hanging out on top of my hot tub cover. If you can see there's like a broken light there. Because not too long ago, a little baby black bear came in and ripped it down and shattered it everywhere. So yeah, bears, they exist out here. Wait a minute, how'd you get in here if I just unlocked the door for the first time? So first thing you'll see when you walk in is our kitchen here. A little bit older, but honestly, it holds its charm. We try to spruce it up as much as we can with some hearth and hand stuff. One of the things when you buy a short-term rental is you really have to decide on your budget and how much you really want to fix up a space before you take it live. So when my partners and I closed on this property in mid-September, we were going into the hottest season of the year. And when I say hottest, I mean just the most popular. So we figured let's spruce it up as much as we can. We can always come back and remodel it. And that's exactly what we're planning to do in January and February, which are traditionally the slowest seasons in the Smoky Mountains. One final note about this, and one thing that you'll see probably throughout the cabin, is that there's a lot of charm in this place. You walk in and you have like this visceral feeling that it's a very homey and cozy place. So obviously we made the right call to wait to remodel it because, as you'll see at the end of the video, the financial results speak for themselves. So I think my favorite part about the chalet is that it's got a nice open living area. You got the dining room table here, which is super rustic. Like literally, I think the chairs are made out of like tree sticks and stuff like that. And that really does encapsulate the vibe of the Smoky Mountains. And when you move into the living room, I really feel like it has like this endearing charm to it. This is one of the things that we saw in the listing. We're like, man, that chandelier is so cool. And we actually got access to the Airbnb property before we closed on this house. And we were able to read the reviews of how people felt when they stayed here. And a lot of the things that they mentioned were things like the chandelier, the chimney, the fact that you can actually like light a fire and hang out with your family here. They talked about the views. They talked about all the black bears that are on the property every single day. I honestly feel if I didn't have access to that Airbnb listing, I probably would have overthought. I probably would have overthought this purchase because this house was a little bit older, it needed some work, and so I probably would have been a little bit nervous. But reading through all the reviews of the previous owner's listing, it really just made me feel like this place makes people feel at home. So some of the things that we did here is we just came in and did some minor updates. We changed out things like the rug here. We went with a little bit more of a Southwestern meets rustic charm here. Obviously added a bunch of throw pillows, throw blankets, and fake plants all over this house because y'all know that I love my fake plants. And we also scrapped a lot of the previous art and just like zhuzhed it up a bit. We spruced it up in here with more modern Smoky Mountain photography. So whenever we do actually remodel this place, I'm honestly not sure what we're gonna change. This place has really grown on me in a lot of different ways. I think we're definitely planning on repainting a lot of the house, but we really wanna like maintain the integrity of the original character. In a lot of remodels, people will come and just tear out everything that made a house special. So I don't know, I may modernize a few key components about the chalet, but I don't want it to feel too much different than this if I'm being honest. Yeah, so this is interesting. This was a piece of stained glass that I think we found in the owner's closet like outside, and someone was gonna toss it when we were setting up this place, and we're like, hey, what if we just hung it on this big old empty wall right here? And between 3 or 4 guys, we had a couple ladders and it's actually pretty heavy. But once we hung it up, we're like, yeah, this was part of the original house when it was built over 50 years ago, so we thought, why not integrate it into the actual design? That would be a really good story if it was true, but I don't know, it looks cool. Moving on here, we got our bathroom here, which is obviously very rustic, very cabiny. Then we got a relatively nice sized master bedroom in here. One of the things that we spruced up was a lot of the different linens, throw pillows. I actually had a friend make these macrame needle points macrame? I don't know, it's something like that. We also changed out the curtains because I think they were like a weird color. So as you can see, a few small little updates in here, but I think it really amped up the vibes if you ask me. What do you think? Cute? Not cute. Drab? Fab. Let me know in the comments down below. Let's head downstairs. So I actually wanted to talk about this room a little bit because this room was actually originally a den. But for me, I think that beds and heads is a very important thing whenever you're trying to set up an Airbnb. There used to be a couch right here. I don't know, arguably wasn't really doing much for the space. So I really pitched my partners on adding a bed in here. This house is technically a 3-2, but because we added this bed in here and we've got this den that's now converted, we market it as a 4-2. Now I will say in the listing, we are very upfront and we say that it's an open den that's been converted to a room, just so that we don't have anyone that's disgruntled and mad that we were hiding information from them. So for me, transparency in a listing will go a long way. We've hosted 90 groups of people in this house in the year that we've owned it, and we've never gotten a single complaint about the setup. Now I will say this has been a hot topic of discussion for the actual remodel because we talked about painting it down here, but honestly, like this old paneling is typically not something that I'm a fan of. But in this specific house, I think it just adds to the overall vibe. So I'm not sure how we're gonna remodel it down here. We might spruce up a couple of the knickknacks and add some plants, but ultimately I don't really want to change up too much down here. We got a couple more rooms in the house. I'll take you through one more because they're all effectively identical. But here it is, a whole nother room. We got our closet over here. Fun fact, this is where we keep the bodies. Here's another one of those original things about the house. It's got this very cool stairway in here. Sadly, when we remodeled the place, I think we might have to take this out because I doubt that it meets current code and I doubt an inspector is gonna come in here and approve this, but it was good while it lasted. So let's head back upstairs and I'll take you through what we've all been waiting for, the financials. So as I mentioned, this house cost a total of $324,000 and I bought it with a couple of partners, AKA my friends. For the most part, our average nightly rate is anywhere from $200 to $275 depending on what part of the year it is. But when we're actually in peak season, which is basically like mid-September all the way through the end of December, those nightly rates go up significantly. For example, in October, our nightly rates can easily get into the 300s. Same thing with November, and during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, our nightly rates can be anywhere from $600 to $900 a night. Matter of fact, we just got booked for Thanksgiving over 4 or 5 days, and that was a $2,900 reservation. So even though our price point could be anywhere from $200 to $275, when you average it out with the peak season, it can actually be in the low 300s. So now I want to talk about some of the startup costs, and probably my favorite thing about the Gatlinburg market specifically, and that is when you buy a property, for the most part, it's going to be turnkey. It's pretty rare to buy a cabin here in the Smoky Mountains and it not come fully furnished. It does happen, but I would say 98% of houses that you buy in Gatlinburg come completely turnkey, and you just come in and you spruce it up, and that's exactly what we did on this house. There are a lot of things that we changed out, like rugs, coffee tables, lamps, nightstands, all that type of stuff, and I think for the most part we spent about $16,000 all in to get this place up and running. We were able to utilize a lot of the existing furniture, which are usually high-ticket items like your couches, your dining room tables, your beds, and the jacuzzi down at the bottom was actually brand new too, and that's actually a $6,000 or $7,000 hot tub that the previous owner bought the last year. So as far as the financing side of this, we were actually able to do this via second home loan. You definitely want to work through some of those details with your mortgage broker because there are some requirements that you actually need to abide by. For example, you have to occupy the property for a portion of the year. But here's a really cool thing about second home loans. It only requires that you put down 10% on your property. So you can actually go and buy a property that you want to use for yourself, but maybe you just can't justify that mortgage expense because you're not going to be occupying it for most of the year. Well, that's where Airbnb comes in. You can go and you can list it on the platform anytime that you're not there. Not only will you subsidize your mortgage, but you'll make a really great profit too. So let's dive in. In our first full year as an Airbnb, we grossed $84,078. Now, of that $84,078, we paid $13,500 in cleaning fees. Our monthly costs, which include our mortgage, which is about $1,400 or so, HOA, electricity, cable, internet, all that kind of stuff, comes out to about $2,000 a month. So multiply Multiply that times 12 and you got $24,000 in rough expenses for this property. So $24,000 plus $13,500 is $37,500 in costs. When you subtract that from the $84,078 gross that we had, we made a total profit after all bills and expenses and everything of $46,578. Divide that by 12. This property averaged a profit of $3,881.50 every single month. Here's what's really cool about this property. Were you to go out and buy this as a second home so that you can enjoy it for a part of the year and rent it out for the rest of the year, and you pay about $50,000 like we did, which includes a down payment of about $32,000 and another $16,000 in overall startup costs, that means that your cash on cash return in your first year on this property would be 93%. To put that into perspective, a typical long-term investment will give you a 6 to 10 or so % cash on cash return. If you're a really great long-term real estate investor, then a 10 to 20% cash on cash return is very possible. If you're doing the stock market and we're having just a regular year, a 10% return is a great return. You're getting 9.3 times more than that in a house like this out in the Smoky Mountains. Uh-oh, our neighbors are partying, so I guess I'll wrap this up. I will say that we were very lucky to get into this market when we did, because we bought this house for $324,000. It would not cost that today, but I am gonna say this. A lot of people when we bought this property would say that we were at the top of the market, and there were so many people that said that they wouldn't invest because they were waiting for a real estate crash. Well, there have been so many times where people told me not to invest in real estate because we were about to endure some big crazy crash. Well, if I had listened to those people, I would have no net worth at all. So ultimately, I would say if you're looking to get into the Airbnb business, if you're looking to get into real estate in general, there is no better time than now. I think the adage is the best time to buy was 10 years ago. So ultimately, the sooner you get in, the better. Even at today's prices, which are definitely getting up there, you're never gonna regret that purchase if you hold on to it for 30 years, because 30 years from now, this house is gonna be worth significantly more. And I'm really excited for the day that me and my partners get to sell it and retire, or we pass it down to our kids. But regardless, I'm really proud of this house and what we were able to achieve in just one short year. But we got so many more great years coming to us in this house. And I'm really excited to invest about $50,000 into the remodel and see how much more we're able to profit as a result. So I'll leave you with that. If there's one thing that I should remodel in this house, what do you think it should be? Give me some ideas and we'll incorporate it for the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Robuilt.